Hi students, ఎలా ఉన్నారు? Today in this video I will explain some important points and important formulas in physics vectors concept. Actually physics లో ఈ vectors అనే లెసన్ చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్ లెసన్. బికాస్ మనం ఫ్యూచర్లో నేర్చుకునే రిలేటివ్ మోషన్, రిలేటివ్ వెలాసిటీ ఇంక్లూడింగ్ న్యూటన్ లాస్ ఆఫ్ మోషన్, రిజల్యూషన్ ఆఫ్ ద ఫోర్సెస్, ఇవన్నీ మనకి క్లియర్గా అర్థం కావాలి అంటే దీనికి వెక్టార్స్, బేసిక్స్ ఆఫ్ వెక్టార్స్ అనేవి చాలా చాలా హెల్ప్ చేస్తాయి మనకి. రైట్, లెట్ us స్టార్ట్. సో వెక్టార్స్, విచ్ క్వాంటిటీస్ ఆర్ కాల్డ్ ఇట్ యాజ్ ఎ వెక్టార్స్? ఏ బ్రీఫ్ ఇంట్రడక్షన్ అబౌట్ ద వెక్టార్స్ ఇనిషియల్. సో ఏ క్వాంటిటీని మనం వెక్టార్ క్వాంటిటీ అంటాం. The given quantity is a vector quantity means it has particular magnitude. Magnitude is nothing but a number, including it should have specific direction, including it follows vector algebra, means addition, subtraction and multiplication. So epudaithe ee three rules ni follow ayindho, that quantity is completely under vector quantity. For example, here I wrote some examples. Displacement is a vector which is represented by s bar. Here bar represents the direction of the displacement, and force is a vector which is represented by F bar. Bar represents direction of force, including acceleration, A bar, which is bar represents the direction, including momentum, J bar, P bar, including impulse, J bar. We have like this, we have some vector quantities has magnitude, direction, including the follows vector algebra. Right, this is about the definition of vectors. Then how to represent the vector? Representation of the vector. Vector ni manam ela represent chestam? Generally vector is represented with any capital letters A, B, C or P, Q like that, along with heads, along with arrows on its heads. Arrow indicates simply the direction. This is the symbolic representation of the vector. A bar is a vector, B bar is a vector, like that, symbolic representation. So at the same time graphical representation, graph paranga మనం ఎలా represent చేస్తాం? Graphical, simply it is represented by a straight line. The length of the straight line gives the magnitude, including along with arrowhead. So this is the vector, graphical representation. Simply A bar is the name of the vector. So every vector has 2 points. Starting point, the starting point of the vector is also called it as initial point, and it is also called it as tail of the vector. And another point that is nothing but end point, or this point is also called it as head of the vector. So this is the graphical representation of the given vector. Here I drew the vector in particular direction. For example, towards east I drew. This direction is not always constant. You can draw any vector in this direction also, towards west. Thus the direction will change here. So again it has 2 points of tail and head. For example, it is represented by B bar. It is in this direction. It is towards east direction. This is the graphical representation of the vector. Right. Now let us discuss some types of vectors. We have different types of vectors. Chala types untayi manaki. For example, equal vectors, right? Like vectors also call it as a parallel vectors. Unlike vectors, right? Including null vector. Null vector is nothing but if you can calculate the magnitude of the given vector, mana magnitude calculate cheste, that magnitude should be equal to 0. Such a vector, so I'll call it as null vector, has 0 magnitude. Negative vector. One vector is opposite to the another vector. Both two are in opposite direction. One is east, another one is west. Those two are called it as negative vectors of each other. One vector towards north, another vector towards south. Those two are negative vectors of each other. So like that we have different types of vectors, including collinear vectors. Collinear, the word itself it explains. Collinear means 2 or 3 vectors are lie in the same line. Okay, line lo undali. Coplanar vectors. Coplanar, very very important type. Coplanar means the vectors, 2 or 3 vectors are lie in the same plane. Plane means plane is nothing but a. Let us consider here axes as x, y, z axis. Right, it is y axis and it is x axis and it is z axis, for example. So here this plane is called as xy plane, and it is called as xz plane, and it is called as yz plane. If two vectors here I considered, for example, a bar and b bar and a bar I considered here, those two are called as coplanar vectors because both two are lie in the same plane of xy. But here I consider one more vector, that is p bar. P bar is in xz plane. I can't say a, b and p are in the same plane because p is in the another plane. Vere plane lo vachesindi. One more point only here, very very important. You can change the given vector. You can change the position of the given vector in the given plane without changing its direction. That means I can change the position of P in the same plane without changing its direction. That means ikkada unna vector ni nenu ikkadiki teeskelagalamu. But we can't change the position of the direction of the vector. Vector ni marchukodu, direction ni marchukodu. Ikkada unna vector ni teeskelli nenu ikkada place chesanu for our convenience. Very important point, students. Listen, good pettukondi. Right. So like this we have different types of vectors. And one more type is co-initial vectors. Co-initial means initial points, 2 or 3 vectors initial point is same. Okay point దగ్గర నుంచి start అవుతాయి. Those are called co-initial vectors. One more is co-terminal vectors, and that means 2 or 3 vectors are same head points. Head points are coincide. Head points, final points are coincide. Those vectors only call it as co-terminus vectors. Like this we have different types of vectors. Along with one more type of the vector, and very very important, is unit vector. Unit vector, unit. Very important. Star mark pettukoవాలి. So which vector is called as a unit vector? For example, I have a vector. The vector name is a bar. So for example, if you can calculate magnitude of a bar, magnitude mani calculate cheste, the magnitude of a bar, for example, you got which is equal to 1. Answer maniki 1 vachindi. Magnitude calculate chesinapu. So in the situation, such a vector is called as unit vector. Simply the vector has the magnitude equal to 1. Such a vectors are called as unit vectors. Then what is the formula on how to represent? Unit vector is represented by a cap. How to pronounce this? A cap. A cap. Then formula of how to calculate the unit vector. Simply unit vector is nothing but you can calculate by the formula vector by vector's magnitude. Vector by vector magnitude. That means a cap is equal to, vector is nothing but a bar and magnitude is nothing but a mod of a bar. Modulus of a bar ni manam magnitude ga cheptam. One more point, students, here it is also rewrite as a bar by a. That means without bar మనం ఏదైనా ఒక వెక్టర్ రాసాము అంటే that represents magnitude. Only a రాసాము ఇక్కడ. It has no bar. ఇక్కడ a అనేది మనకి magnitude ని రిప్రజెంట్ చేస్తుంది. So you can rewrite as finally a cap is equal to a bar by a, and which is equal to a bar is equal to a cap into a. ఒక యూనిట్ వెక్టార్ దాని magnitude తో మనం మల్టిప్లై చేసినట్లయితే మనకి ఒక వెక్టార్ అనేది వస్తుంది అన్నమాట. రైట్, దిస్ ఇస్ అబౌట్ ద యూనిట్ వెక్టార్. రైట్, నౌ విల్ డిస్కస్ అబౌట్ orthogonal unit vectors. What is meant by orthogonal vectors? For example, I have two vectors I represented in a graph. One is a bar, another one is b bar. Those two angles are called as here orthogonal vectors. Why? Because the angle in between them, theta, is equal to 90 degrees. Such a vectors are called as orthogonal vectors. Like this, here I considered 3 orthogonal vectors. So those 3 orthogonal vectors are called as orthogonal unit vectors. vectors. Orthogonal unit vectors. For that purpose here I considered Cartesian system. Cartesian system. It is a 0, 0 origin point. Along x direction one unit vector is there. Unit vector means magnitude which is equal to 1. So along x direction generally the unit vector is I cap. Unit vector along x direction is I cap and unit vector along y direction is j cap and unit vector along z direction is k. Position vector. What is the position of the vector from the origin? Position vector. For example, let us consider 2D xy plane మనం తీసుకుందాం. X axis, y axis. Here it is called as a origin 0, 0. Now, one particle is at the position P. P అనే position లో ఒక particle ఉంది. So, how much distance it travelled? Along x direction it travelled 2 units and along y direction it travelled for example 3 units. Here the point 2, 3 represents position of the vector from the origin. Origin నుంచి 2 units along x direction లో వెళ్ళింది. 3 units along y direction lo velli. Now position vector is generally represented by r bar. R bar position ఏమంటున్నాం మనం position vector అంటున్నాం. It should be a vector form. So here r bar is represented by vector form ఎలా రాస్తాము అంటే how much distance, how many units it travelled along x direction, 2 units. నా చెప్పాను మీకు యూనిట్ వెక్టార్ గివ్స్ డైరెక్షన్ ఫర్ us. యూనిట్ వెక్టార్ మనకి డైరెక్షన్ ఇస్తుంది. సో దట్స్ వై అలాంగ్ x డైరెక్షన్ వాట్ ఇస్ ద యూనిట్ వెక్టార్? జస్ట్ నౌ వి డిస్కస్డ్ దట్ ఈస్ I cap ప్లస్ ఇంక్లూడింగ్ దీంతో పాటుగా అలాంగ్ y డైరెక్షన్ ఆల్సో ఇట్ ట్రావెల్డ్ 3 యూనిట్స్. సో దట్స్ వై 3 అండ్ అలాంగ్ y డైరెక్షన్ ద యూనిట్ వెక్టార్ is j cap, that is 3j cap. So here r bar represent the position of the vector from the origin. Very important point students. Here position vector is depending upon the magnitude and direction of the position vector is depending upon the origin. Depends on origin మీద depend అవుతుంది. Now I have a vector form. Then how to calculate r bar? Mod of r bar I want. That means magnitude I want. Simple. How to calculate? R bar is also represented by only r. Only r is nothing but a square root of, how to calculate? Square root of x component whole square. X direction lo any units travel ayindi? 2 units travel ayindi. So that means 2 whole square plus along y direction how much it traveled? How many units? 3 units it traveled, 3 whole square. Simply 2 square become 4 and 3 square become 9. So magnitude of the r bar is root over square root of 13. Simply it is a magnitude right now. So root 13 is a magnitude, pure number. Displacement you already learned in previous classes. Displacement is nothing but the shortest distance between the 2 points. The shortest distance between the 2 points. Let us consider here x-axis and it become negative x-axis. It is y-axis and obviously it is negative y-axis. Now it is origin 0, 0, 0, 0. First position it is P. For example, it traveled 2 units along x-axis and 4 units along y-axis. So it is representation the first position, that is r1 bar. Just now we discussed r1 bar physical vector representation ela rayichu manam simply 2 units along x axis plus 4 units along y axis. 2i cap plus 4j cap is the position vector. Now second position from the same origin in this direction it traveled. For example, it is q. For example, it traveled negative x axis lo minus 2 units వెళ్ళింది. Positive y axis lo for example it traveled 3 units. I hope you understand why I kept here minus, because here the particle traveled along negative x direction. That's why here x component is minus 2 and positive y is plus 3. Now it is nothing but a r2 bar. So r2 bar is equal to vector form is minus 2i cap plus 3j cap. Now displacement I want. Displacement is nothing but the shortest distance between initial point and the final point. This line represents displacement for us. What is the displacement and how to calculate? So displacement S bar you can calculate by the formula R2 bar minus R1 bar. Final position minus initial position. Simply దీన్నే మనం ఎట్లా రాసుకోవచ్చమ్మా? OQ bar minus OP bar. Both are same. R2 bar minus R1 bar or OQ bar minus OP bar. If you can simplify that, that is S bar displacement is equal to R2 bar is minus 2I cap plus 3J cap. R2 minus of R1 is 2I cap plus 4J cap. Simplify this, which is equal to minus 2I cap plus 3J cap plus of minus 2I cap minus 4J cap. Right. Further, minus 2 minus 4I cap, minus 2 4I cap and plus 3 minus 4 become minus 1 J cap. This is displacement vector for us. This is the process to calculate displacement of the 2 points P and Q. Displacement is nothing but a shortest distance between the final point and the initial point. Right. Now, let us discuss angle between two vectors. Very, very important point. Angle between two vectors. రెండు వెక్టర్స్ మధ్యలో ఎంత యాంగిల్ ఉంది? వాట్ ఈస్ ద యాంగిల్ బిట్వీన్ టూ వెక్టర్స్? హౌ టు క్యాలిక్యులేట్? సో బిఫోర్ గోయింగ్ టు ద టాపిక్ we should remember 2 points here. For example, I have two vectors a bar and b bar. Graphical representation, a bar and another vector is b bar. So those two, the angle, to calculate angle between two vectors, you should remember 2 points here. So first point is the tails of the two vectors should be coincide. Two vectors ki tails coincide అవ్వాలి. Or those two vectors heads should be coincide. Either tails coincide or heads coincide. అలా ఉన్నప్పుడు మాత్రమే మనం యాంగిల్ ని క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేస్తాం. Let us discuss. For example, here I considered a bar in this direction and here I took one more vector b bar is in this direction. See here, two vectors tails coincide. No? Tail of the b and tail of the head both are coincide. In this situation, we should consider the interior angle is the angle in between two vectors, which is represented by theta. Right? Heads, tails coincide here. One more example here I took. For example, A is in this direction and B is in this direction. So here what happened? Two heads coincide. Here also you can take. ఇలా కూడా తీసుకోవచ్చు మనం. In this also the theta is the angle in between two vectors a bar and b bar. Heads అయినా coincide అవ్వాలి లేదంటే tails అయినా coincide అవ్వాలి. Then we can consider the interior angle. Smallest interior angle is the angle in between two vectors. Madam, what happened? If one head and one tail will be coincide, yes, you can calculate. See here, it is a bar and it is b bar. Observe carefully. Tail of the first vector is coincide with head of the second vector coincide. In this situation, we can't take the theta is the angle in between a and b. Theta angle avvadu. But you can change. మనం కోప్లానార్ లో నేర్చుకున్నాం. You can change the position of the given vector without changing its direction. డైరెక్షన్ ని మార్చకుండా మనం ఒక వెక్టార్ పొజిషన్ ని మార్చొచ్చు. ఇన్ ద గివెన్ ప్లేన్, ఒకే ప్లేన్ లో ఏబీ రెండు ఒకే ప్లేన్ లో ఉన్నాయి కదా. రైట్. సో ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ లెట్ us consider this is theta, but theta is not the angle in between two vectors. We should change the position of b or a, anything, ఏదైనా మార్చుకోవచ్చు. b ని మారుస్తున్నాను. హియర్ జాగ్రత్తగా అబ్జర్వ్ చేయండి. హియర్ ఐ చేంజ్ ద పొజిషన్. ఇక్కడ ఉన్న వెక్టార్ తీసుకెళ్ళి ఇక్కడ పెడుతున్నా అంతే. జస్ట్ దిస్ ఈజ్ ద పొజిషన్. చూడండి, డైరెక్షన్ చేంజ్ అవ్వలేదు. ఇన్ దిస్ డైరెక్షన్ b is there. Here also in the same direction b is there. Now here tail of the first vector is coincide with the tail of the second vector b bar. Then what is the angle? You know how to calculate. I take that this is the total angle. This is the straight angle 180 degrees. Here it is already theta. It is already theta. Now this is the angle in between A and B. How to calculate? 180 degrees minus theta. Then understand how to calculate angle in between two vectors when one head and one tail is coincide. Any one, either A or B, you can change the position of the any vector without changing its direction and calculate the angle in between two vectors by the formula 180 degrees minus theta. Very, very important point. Clear? Right. Now, let us discuss about the addition of two vectors. Addition of two vectors. మనకి రెండు వెక్టర్స్ ఇచ్చినప్పుడు ఎలా యాడ్ చేయాలి? addition of two vectors. For example, here two vectors a bar and b bar both are in the same direction. రెండు ఒకే డైరెక్షన్ లో ఉన్నాయి. along x direction I mean unit vector is I cap. For example, a bar is 2 I cap right now, b bar is 4 I cap. Both are in the same direction along x direction. Then I want a bar plus b bar, sum of addition of two vectors and a bar and b bar, which is nothing but a r bar. R bar represents what here? Resultant. Resultant means final result. 2 plus 3 is equal to 5 on top. 5 is the result there, right now. So here it is called as a resultant. So resultant is a bar plus b bar when both are in the same direction. Rendu oke direction lo unnayi. The answer is 2 I cap plus 4 I cap, simply 6 I cap is the resultant when the two vectors are in the same direction. Okay direction lo unnappudu. So here 6 is the magnitude. Magnitude is 6. In which direction the resultant is there? మరి ఏ డైరెక్షన్ లో ఉంటుంది? In which direction A and B? A, B ఏ డైరెక్షన్ లో ఉన్నాయో అదే డైరెక్షన్ లో రిజల్టెంట్ కూడా ఉంటుంది. Because both are in the same direction. But in second case, for example, one vector 2 I cap is in the same direction, that is A bar. But here I took one more vector B bar which is equal to 7 I cap, but it is minus 7 I cap. Why? Because here B bar is in opposite direction, opposite of A, that is negative x. That's why what is the unit vector along negative x axis? Minus I cap, right kada? Minus I cap. So here how to calculate resultant? R bar is equal to A bar plus of minus B bar, because minus B is in the opposite direction of A. Understand? So which is equal to A bar plus of minus B bar. A bar minus B bar. If you can substitute the values here, 2 I cap plus of minus 7 I cap. So that is equal to 2 I cap minus 7 I cap. Answer is minus 5 I cap. Minus 5 is 5 is result magnitude here. 5 is magnitude here. In which direction the resultant is? A direction lo resultant ఉంటుంది. ఏ డైరెక్షన్ లో అయితే మనం పెద్ద వెక్టార్ తీసుకున్నాం. In which direction the bigger vector is there? So B bar. So finally the resultant is in the direction of B bar. So that is minus 5 I cap. Clear? So these two are addition of two vectors when those two are in the same direction, means theta is 0 degrees. Two are in the same direction, parallel, 0 degrees, and when two vectors are in opposite direction, that is theta is equal to 180 degrees. It like a straight line right now. So that is 180 degrees. Right. But now in third one, if two vectors are inclined at an angle. For example, that is third one. Here I have one vector like this is A bar, another vector B bar like this. Now I want resultant. ఈ రెండిటిని మనం యాడ్ చేయాలి. First let us see the graphical representation right now. So just add the vectors A bar, and here it is a B bar, and here it is a b bar. Then what is the resultant and how to calculate? Simple. Just add, just draw a line which is from the tail of the first vector to head of the second vector. Our line draw cheste, that line only gives us resultant. Ide maniki resultant avutunda r bar. I repeat. So a bar is in this direction and b bar is in this direction. So you know, head of the first vector to tail of the second vector, a bar and b bar. So finally join tail of the first vector to head of the second vector. ఈ రెండింటిని మనం జాయిన్ చేస్తే దట్ ఓన్లీ గివ్స్ us r bar resultant ని ఇస్తుంది మనకి. Simply r bar is equal to a bar plus b bar. R bar is equal to a bar plus b bar. Right? So this is the graphical representation of the vectors. So one more here only we will discuss. One more law is there for us, very important for addition of vectors. Triangular law of vector addition. Vector addition ni manam triangular law ద్వారా ఎలా చెప్తాము? Triangular law of vector addition. Very important. Let us see. For example, I have one vector a bar and another vector b bar in the same order. For example, like this, same order means it is in this direction. In the same order, b bar also there. Same order, okay order lo unnai. Here I considered a bar and b bar are the two sides of the triangle. Then what is the resultant? Simple. The third side of the triangle, but not in the same order, which is in the reverse order. Same order lo undali ante arrow ikkada ravali. So the third side of the triangle which is in the reverse order gives us resultant for us. Ippude mana nerchukunnam. Simply I repeat the statement. The two vectors a bar and b bar are in the same order. Those are considered as the two sides of the triangle. Then what is the resultant? Resultant is nothing but the third side of the vector only, but which is in the reverse order. Reverse order lo తీసుకోవాలి. Then what will happen here? A bar plus b bar which is equal to r bar. Madam, what will happen if the third vector is also in the same order? Simple here. Here it is a bar and here it is in a b bar which are in the same order. Okay order lo తీసుకున్నాము. If I consider another vector c bar also in the same order, okay order lo తీసుకుంటే, if you can add all these vectors, a bar plus b bar plus c bar which is equal to 0 అయిపోతుంది. Then resultant becomes 0 there. So ఇదే మనం triangular law ని ఇలా కూడా చెప్పొచ్చు. I consider three vectors a, b, c in the triangle of the all are in the same order, okay order లో తీసుకుంటే, then you can write a bar plus b bar plus c bar, sum of all the vectors is equal to 0 is nothing but another statement of triangular law. So what will happen? For example, here I consider one particle. Oka particle మీద 3 forces apply అవుతాయి. So this is F1 bar first force and it is second force F2 bar, let us consider, and the third force F3 bar, third force. 3 forces are acting on a single particle. So all are in the same order, okay order lo unnai. That means here what will happen? F1 bar plus F2 bar plus F3 bar which is equal to 0 means 0 means what? 0 means the particle is in the state of rest. Particle ikkada rest position lo undi. That means all forces are in equilibrium state. All forces are in equilibrium state. Man previous class lo nerchukunnam. Here one box is there. On the box, in the so both the directions, 2 Newton's force and 2 Newton's force is applied. For example, the box is in the state of rest. Move over the box. So like this here, how many forces are applied? 3 forces only applied, but 3 are in the same direction. 3 are in the same order. Then the resultant becomes 0. Understand? So this is about the triangular law of vector addition. Only 3 vectors I considered here. Only 3 vectors. So now let us consider more than 3 vectors. More than 3 vectors gives polygon for us. More than 3 vectors. 4 or 5 vectors, let us consider, that is polygon law of vector addition. Polygon law of vector addition. Polygon law, more than 3 or 4 vectors, let us consider. For example, A bar is the first vector, B bar second vector, C bar is the third vector, D bar is the fourth vector, E bar is the fifth vector. All vectors I consider in same order. Okay, order lo veltunnayi anni vectors kuda. How many vectors I considered? 5 vectors: A bar, B bar, C bar, D bar, E bar. Finally, what we have to calculate? Resultant we have to calculate. What is the resultant? Simple. Resultant is nothing but the closing side of the polygon. Polygon close cheyali man. So the closing side of the polygon which is in the reverse order. Same order lo తీసుకుంటే ఇక్కడ వస్తుంది యారో. But polygon లో ఏం చెప్తుందమ్మా? Let us consider 5 vectors. 5 vectors are the sides of the polygon. Then the resultant is the closing side of the vector, the closing side of the vectors which is in the reverse order gives resultant for us. Dotted line indicates resultant. Then simply A bar plus B bar plus C bar plus D bar plus E bar which is equal to R bar. ఎన్ని వెక్టర్స్ అయినా మనం ఇలా జాయిన్ చేయొచ్చు. 11 vectors తీసుకుందాం. So 12th vector is the resultant which is in the opposite direction, reverse in order. So this is about the different types of different methods to find the addition of vectors. These all are graphical representation of the vector addition. ఇవన్నీ కూడా మనకి గ్రాఫికల్ రిప్రజెంటేషన్ చెప్తాయి. Now analytical method. So analytical method means what? Analytical method means we need a formula to calculate resultant అని చెప్తాం. Then what is the value of resultant here? Some value, for example 5, 10, 7, 0.5 or 10.5, something value. So I have to calculate that value. We need one formula. మనకు ఒక ఫార్ములా కావాలి. At the same time, vector, resultant is a vector. Then what is the direction of vector? In which direction the resultant is? ఏ డైరెక్షన్ లో ఉంది ఆ రిజల్టెంట్? ఇందాక మనం ట్రయాంగులర్ లా చెప్పినప్పుడు A bar and B bar both are two sides of the triangle. Then the third vector which is in the reverse order gives resultant for us అని చెప్పుకున్నాం. Then what is the value of resultant here? How much value I want? So to calculate that value here, another method is there, that is analytical method. In analytical method, we will discuss about parallelogram law of vector addition. Very, very important. Parallelogram law of vector addition. ఈ parallelogram law లోనే మనం formulas నేర్చుకుంటాం to calculate magnitude including the direction. Right. So for that purpose, let us consider two vectors again, A bar, and one more vector is B bar. Here both two are joined at a point. ఒక point దగ్గర నుంచి స్టార్ట్ అయ్యి. I consider two vectors A bar and B bar from the same point and inclined at an angle of theta are considered as two sides of the polygon. Two sides of the polygon ga తీసుకుంటే A bar and B bar ni, then what is the resultant means from the same point the diagonal of the parallelogram which is starting from the same origin point gives resultant for us. ఒకసారి మళ్ళీ చెప్తాను. Here A bar and B bar are two sides of the parallelogram from the same point. The diagonal which is travelled from the same point gives resultant for us. ఆ diagonal మనకి resultant అవుతుంది. But ఏం చెప్పుకున్నాం? Resultant has a formula అని చెప్పుకున్నాం. Then what is the formula for resultant? How to calculate? Let us start a small derivation part for us. సో డెరివేషన్ మనం ఫార్ములా క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేయడానికి, ఫార్ములా సింప్లిఫై చేయడానికి నేను ఇక్కడ దీన్ని ఎక్స్టెండ్ చేసుకుంటాను. ఇట్ ఈస్ ఏ బార్ అండ్ హియర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఆల్సో ఏ బార్. జస్ట్ ఎక్స్టెండ్ ఏ బార్ని ఎక్స్టెండ్ చేసుకుంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ బీ బార్, హియర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఆల్సో బీ బార్. ఇది బీ బార్ అయినప్పుడు ఇది కూడా బీ బార్ అవుతుంది. ఇది ఏ బార్ అయినప్పుడు ఈ సైడ్ కూడా ఏ బార్ అవుతుంది. రైట్, అండ్ హియర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ యాంగిల్ థీటా. రైట్, ఈ యాంగిల్ కూడా మనకి థీటా అవుతుంది. టూ ప్యారలల్ లైన్స్, రైట్, టూ ప్యారలల్ లైన్స్ తీసుకున్నప్పుడు ఇది థీటా అయితే ఈ యాంగిల్ కూడా మనకి థీటా అవుతుంది. And draw one perpendicular line on A, on extended A. Extend చేసిన A మీద ఒక perpendicular line ని డ్రా చేస్తాం. Now naming this parallelogram, for example O, right, P, Q, R and then S. P, Q, R, S. Parallelogram is ready for you. Now let us start the derivation. Let us consider from the figure. Here two triangles are formed. ఇందుకలా మనం ఎక్స్టెండ్ చేసి నేమింగ్ ఇచ్చుకున్న ట్రయాంగిల్స్ ని ఫార్మ్ చేస్తాం. ఇక్కడ చూడండి, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ద ఫస్ట్ ట్రయాంగిల్ is PQR is a right angle triangle, right now. If you have a right angle triangle, you can apply trigonometric operation like cos, sin, tan. Right now, one more triangle is OQR is another triangle. So from the figure, let us consider triangle PQR is a right angle triangle. PQR. From the triangle PQR, cos theta. So you know cos theta is nothing but a formula of cos theta from the right angle triangle. Cos theta is nothing but a adjacent side PQ by hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is PR. So from this you can calculate PQ is equal to PR cos theta. Cross multiplication, PR cos theta. You know PR value is nothing but a B. It is B and this value also equal to B. So that is B cos theta. And one more, sin theta. From the same triangle sin theta and calculate chedam. Theta ke opposite value is QR by hypotenuse QR by PR. You know again, so QR is equal to, from this QR is equal to PR into sin theta. Again, what is the value of PR here? B. So QR is nothing but a B sin theta. So now we have two values. One is PQ value వచ్చింది మనకి, that is B cos theta. ఈ వాల్యూ మనకి ఎంత వచ్చిందమ్మా? B cos theta వచ్చింది. And one more value QR వచ్చింది మనకి, that is B sin theta. From PQR triangle మనం cos theta ni sin theta ni calculate చేస్తాం. Now take one more big triangle OQR. From the triangle OQR. Right, let us apply Pythagoras theorem. Apply చేద్దాం. Pythagoras theorem is nothing but hypotenuse square is equal to side square plus side square. So what is hypotenuse here? OR square is equal to OR whole square is equal to one of the side for that right angle triangle is OQ whole square plus QR whole square. Then what is OR? OR represent the diagonal. Diagonal is nothing but a resultant చెప్పుకున్నాం కదా, that is R square. OR is nothing but R square by OQ. OQ is nothing but a sum of OP and PQ. Sum of OP plus PQ whole square plus QR square. Now we have some values for this. మన దగ్గర కొన్ని వాల్యూస్ ఉన్నాయి, సబ్స్టిట్యూట్ చేసుకుందాం. That is R square is equal to OP value is A plus OQ value is A, right? Then PQ value just now we calculated, that is B cos theta whole square plus QR is nothing but a B sin theta whole square. Now simplify this. It is like a plus B whole square. Apply A plus B whole square formula, students. That is A square plus B square cos square theta plus 2AB 2ab cos theta plus finally b square sin square theta. Now take some terms here common. Say take b square as common. b square ni common తీద్దాం. b square common తీస్తే sin square theta plus cos square theta వస్తుంది. b square from this term and this term had a common, that is sin square theta plus cos square theta plus 2ab cos theta. You know sin square theta plus cos square theta value is 1. Trigonometry lo మనం నేర్చుకున్నాం sin square theta plus cos square theta value is 1. Finally r square is equal to మనకి ఏమ వచ్చిందమ్మా a square plus b square plus 2ab cos theta. So this is the formula to calculate resultant, r square formula. So from this r ని మనం క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేస్తే స్క్వేర్ become రూట్ కదమ్మా, that is a square plus b square plus 2ab cos theta is the standard formula and very important formula to calculate magnitude. Here a magnitude of a they will give, right? Magnitude of b they will give, including the angle in between the two vectors also they will give. You can substitute all the values with the square root of, you will get magnitude r value. So now in which direction this resultant? ఈ ఏ డైరెక్షన్ లో రిజల్టెంట్ ఉంది మనకి, విల్ గెట్ ఆర్. మాగ్నిట్యూడ్ వచ్చేసింది మనకి, ఏ డైరెక్షన్ లో రిజల్టెంట్ ఉంది. Now we have to calculate resultant by the same triangle. Here let us consider one more angle here. Resultant here theta is angle between two vectors a and b. Now r bar, that means the resultant makes some angle with only a, that is considered as alpha. మనకి రిజల్టెంట్ డైరెక్షనే కదా కావాలి. సో రిజల్టెంట్ ఏతో చేసే యాంగిల్ని తీసుకుంటున్నాను, దట్ ఈస్ ఆల్ఫా, అనదర్ యాంగిల్. సో ఫ్రమ్ ద సేమ్ ట్రయాంగిల్ tan ఆల్ఫాని తీసుకుంటున్నాం. tan బికాస్ వీ హ్యావ్ ఆపోజిట్ సైడ్ అండ్ ఆల్సో వీ హ్యావ్ అడ్జసెంట్ సైడ్ కదా. Then substitute the values. Tan alpha is nothing but a opposite side QR, right? Opposite side by adjacent side, that is OQ. Tan is equal to opposite by adjacent, right? So which is equal to QR value is nothing but a b sin theta by what is OQ? OQ is nothing but a OP plus PQ. OP plus PQ, that is simply a plus b cos theta. Enough. So that means alpha is equal to tan inverse b sin theta by a plus b cos theta. You should we should substitute the value of b and the angle along with the sign operation sin theta, including the magnitude of a and b and also angle in between the two vectors along with cosine operation. If you can substitute all the values here, you will get a angle means alpha direction మనకు వస్తుంది. In terms of values, degrees లో వస్తుంది, like 45 degrees, 60 degrees, 30 degrees, like that. So this is the formula to calculate direction of the resultant. ఏ డైరెక్షన్ లో ఉంది. One more important point students here. Resultant makes some angle with all a అని ఇచ్చారు. ఆల్ఫా అనేది రిజల్టెంట్ ఎవరితో యాంగిల్ మేక్ చేస్తుంది, ఏ అనే వెక్టర్తో యాంగిల్ మేక్ చేస్తుంది. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇదే రిజల్టెంట్ బీతో యాంగిల్ మేక్ చేయొచ్చు కదా. ఎస్, వై నాట్, చేయొచ్చు. దెన్ డైరెక్షన్ బికమ్ చేంజెస్ దేర్, నో చేంజ్ ఇన్ ద మ్యాగ్నిట్యూడ్ అదే ఉంటుంది, ఆర్ వాల్యూ అదే వస్తుంది, బట్ డైరెక్షన్ విల్ చేంజ్. ఎలా చేంజ్ అవుతుందో చూడండి. లెట్ us కన్సిడర్ దట్ యాంగిల్ ఈజ్ బీటా. యాంగిల్ని మనం బీటా అనుకుంటే జస్ట్ సింపుల్ ఈ బి ప్లేస్లో ఏ ప్లేస్లో బి రాసుకుంటే అయిపోతుంది. Simple. So that is beta, tan beta, or simply beta is equal to tan inverse a sin theta plus b sin theta plus a sin theta by b plus a cos theta. This is the formula to calculate the direction of the resultant when it makes some angle beta with, not a, with b. So this is about the parallelogram law of vector addition. So దీన్ని మనం ఏం చెప్పుకున్నాం, analytical method అని కూడా నేర్చుకున్నాం. Right. So in this formula, in this parallelogram law of vector addition, final గా మనకు వచ్చిన ఫార్ములా ఏదైతే ఉందో దానిలో మనం డిఫరెంట్ థీటాస్ ని తీసుకుని కొన్ని కేసెస్ ని ప్రూవ్ చేస్తాం. Some cases based on parallelogram law of vector addition. Finally, resultant will get square root of a square plus b square plus 2ab cos theta. Right. For example, if theta is equal to 0 degrees, మనం already ఇందాక discuss చేసుకున్నాం vector addition లో 0 degrees means both two vectors are parallel to each other. That means in this situation resultant becomes square root of a square plus b square plus 2ab cos 0 degrees. Angle in between two vectors is 0 because both are parallel right now. Then cos 0 value is 1. Cos 0 value is 1. That means a square plus b square plus 2ab into 1 become 2ab square root of. So it look like a plus b whole square formula. Simply a plus b whole square within root. Square and root will get cancelled, students. That therefore r is equal to simply a plus b. Rendu magnitudes ni add chesthe manaki resultant vachestundi. For example, it is 2 newtons force, b is 2 newtons force. Then the resultant is 4 newtons enough. In which direction? Same. Alpha is equal to, indaka mani calculate chesam, tan inverse b sin theta by alpha kada, b sin theta by a plus b cos theta. Instead of theta, what we have to replace? 0 we have to replace. So that is tan inverse b into sin 0 by a plus b into cos 0 degrees. Right, so that is equal to tan inverse value of sin 0 value is 0. Simply entire value is 0. Tan inverse 0 is nothing but a 0. So alpha is entama angle a direction lo untundi, that is 0 degrees. No angle kada, there is no inclination here. So which is equal to 0 degrees. So like this you can calculate resultant for different angles, like theta is equal to 180 degrees calculate cheyachu, 90 degrees calculate chestam. Including one more case is if two vectors are same in magnitude, that means a bar is equal to b bar. Two vectors are same in magnitude, a and b are equal ani oka case manam teeskuntam. So like this different cases you can prove. So now vector addition follows some properties. Mathematics lo mana nerchukuన్న properties evaithe unnayo like commutative, distributive, associative, avi ikkada addition lo manam check chestam. So those are properties of vector addition. Vector addition ఏ properties ni follow avutundi. Vector addition follows commutative property. What is meant by commutative? A bar plus b bar is equal to b bar plus a bar. It follows commutative law or commutative property. It follows distributive property also, that is m of a bar plus b bar is equal to m into a bar plus m into b bar. M is a scalar here. What is m? M is a scalar here. And it follows associative property also. What is meant by associative property? A bar plus b bar plus c bar is equal to a bar plus b bar plus c bar. So it follows commutative property, distributive property, including the associative property. Right. Now let us discuss about vector subtraction. ఇప్పటివరకు మనం వెక్టర్స్ని యాడ్ చేయడం నేర్చుకున్నాం. ఇప్పుడు వెక్టర్ సబ్ట్రాక్షన్ గురించి నేర్చుకుందాం. సో వెక్టర్ సబ్ట్రాక్షన్ మీన్స్, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, ఇఫ్ ఐ హ్యావ్ టూ వెక్టర్స్ ఏ బార్ అండ్ బి బార్, దెన్ రిజల్టెంట్ ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్ టు ఎడిషన్కి మనం ఏ బార్ ప్లస్ బి బార్గా తీసుకున్నాం. సో హియర్ రిజల్టెంట్ ఈజ్ ఏ బార్ ప్లస్ ఆఫ్ మైనస్ బి బార్. సో విచ్ ఈజ్ నథింగ్ బట్ ఏ బార్ మైనస్ బి బార్. రెండు వెక్టర్స్ని మనం సబ్ట్రాక్ట్ చేస్తే మనకి రిజల్టెంట్ వస్తుంది, దట్ ఈస్ ఆర్ బార్. రైట్. సో ఇన్ గ్రాఫికల్ రిప్రజెంటేషన్ చూద్దాం. So how to calculate the magnitude here? That means resultant ki magnitude మనం ఇక్కడ క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేయడానికి ఇందాకట్లానే రెండు వెక్టర్స్ ని తీసుకుందాం. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, one is a bar, one is b bar. Here b bar is in the positive direction. Here b is plus b, positive direction here it is. Let us consider this is theta. But here what I want? Minus b I want. I don't want plus b. Minus b. Subtract cheyali kada. So let us consider here it is minus b bar. Now here it is the angle in between a bar and b bar. A bar and minus b bar. Then what is this angle in a bar and minus b bar? This is angle theta, but the angle total angle is 180. Total angle is 180. This become 180 minus theta. 180 minus theta is the angle between a bar and minus b bar. So how to calculate resultant? The same formula. Resultant R is equal to, by the parallelogram law of vector addition we already proved, a square plus b square plus 2ab cos theta. Here theta is 180 minus theta. Resultant R is equal to, because a bar and minus b bar angle is 180 minus theta. Here I substitute the 180 minus theta. If you can simplify this, a square plus b square plus 2ab into cos 180 minus theta is in which quadrant? In all silver teacups. In all silver teacups. First quadrant all positive. Second quadrant silver means sine and cosecant are positive. Third quadrant T means tan and cot are positive, remaining all are negative. Finally it is the fourth quadrant. In fourth quadrant cos and secant are positive, remaining all are negative. So it is all silver teacups. Clue. Right. So 180 minus theta is in which quadrant? Second quadrant. Second quadrant is nothing but a 90 plus theta or 180 minus theta. In that cos is negative. Cos is negative, and for 180 operations won't change. 180 ki 360 ki sin cos tan లు మారు, అవే వచ్చేస్తాయి మనకి. వెన్ ఎప్పుడు చేంజ్ అవుతాయి? 90 degrees కి 270 degrees కి మాత్రమే చేంజ్ అవుతాయి. ఫర్ వెర్టికల్ యాంగిల్స్ 90 degrees and 270 degrees కి మాత్రమే sin cos tan లు చేంజ్ అవుతాయి. బట్ ఫర్ 0 degrees including 360 degrees including 180 degrees కి sin cos tan లు చేంజ్ అవ్వవు. హారిజాంటల్ వాల్యూస్ కి చేంజ్ అవ్వవు, గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవచ్చు. సో లైక్ దట్ హియర్ మైనస్ cos theta will come. So finally resultant R is equal to a square plus b square minus 2ab is the formula for 2ab cos theta is the formula to calculate resultant for vector subtraction. Understood? Right. Now very important, one more point in vectors only. Resolution of vectors. Resolution of vector. Resolution means what? Resolve చేయడం. That means resolution is nothing but a splitting of vector. ఒక vector ని మనం split చేస్తే దాన్ని మనం resolution అంటాం. Splitting. సో ఆఫ్టర్ స్ప్లిట్టింగ్, మనం ఎప్పుడైతే ఒక వెక్టార్ని స్ప్లిట్ చేసామో, ఆ స్ప్లిట్ చేసిన తర్వాత మనకి ఏమొస్తాయంటే కాంపోనెంట్స్ వస్తాయి. కాంపోనెంట్స్, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ వెక్టార్స్ని మనం టూ పార్ట్స్ కింద స్ప్లిట్ చేయగలిగితే దోస్ 2 parts ఆర్ కాల్డ్ as కాంపోనెంట్స్ ఆఫ్ వెక్టార్ అని చెప్తాం. రైట్ నా? సో ఈ రిజల్యూషన్ ఆఫ్ వెక్టార్ని మనం ఫస్ట్ 2Dలో చూద్దాం, 2 dimensionలో చూద్దాం. Right? So to understand the resolution of vectors, once remember the orthogonal unit vectors along x, y, z. Along x direction unit vector is I cap, along y direction it is j cap, along z direction it is k cap, and I, j cap are orthogonal unit vectors. Right? So let us consider 2-dimensional x and it is y x-axis and y axis I took. Resolution of vector, ఒక వెక్టార్ని నేను రిజాల్వ్ చేయాలి. సో విచ్ వెక్టార్ ఐ కన్సిడర్ హియర్? ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ హియర్ ఐ టుక్ వెక్టార్ నేమ్ ఈజ్ ఏ బార్. దట్ మీన్స్ ఏ మ్యాగ్నిట్యూడ్ ఉన్న ఏ బార్ అనే వెక్టార్ని నేను తీసుకుంటే, ఐ రిపీట్, ఏ మ్యాగ్నిట్యూడ్ ఉన్న ఏ బార్ అనే ఒక వెక్టార్ని నేను తీసుకుంటే, సో ద కాంట్రిబ్యూషన్ ఆఫ్ ఏ బార్ ఆన్ ఎక్స్ యాక్సిస్, ఏ బార్ అనే వెక్టారు ఎక్స్ యాక్సిస్లో ఎంత కంట్రిబ్యూట్ చేసింది. ఇంకా సింపుల్గా చెప్పాలంటే ద షాడో ఆఫ్ ఏ బార్ ఆన్ ఎక్స్ యాక్సిస్ మీద ఎంత షాడో పడింది ఏది. అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం వాట్ ఈస్ ద కాంట్రిబ్యూషన్ ఆఫ్ ఏ బార్ ఆన్ వై బార్, దట్ ఈస్ ద రిజల్యూషన్. దాన్నే మనం రిజల్యూషన్ అని చెప్తాం. రైట్? సో లెట్ us consider. So to prove that here I draw one perpendicular line on x. సో ఇక్కడ ఏ బార్ అనే వెక్టార్, ఏ మ్యాగ్నెట్యూడ్ ఉన్న ఏ బార్ అనే వెక్టార్ ఎక్స్ డైరెక్షన్లో ఎంత కంట్రిబ్యూట్ చేసింది. సో దానికోసం మనం దీన్ని ఏఎక్స్గా తీసుకుంటాం. ఏఎక్స్ స్ప్లిట్ చేసిన తర్వాత అండ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ వై డైరెక్షన్ కాబట్టి ఇట్ బికమ్ ఏవై. Let the contribution on y-axis and contribution of x-axis. So let us consider this angle along with x-axis is theta. Theta angle తీసుకున్నాము, ఒక perpendicular line x-axis మీదకి డ్రా చేస్తాం. Now what we have to calculate? Ax we have to calculate and ay also we have to calculate. Right now, so you know from the figure cos theta ni calculate చేద్దాం. Cos theta is nothing but a cos theta adjacent side. What is adjacent side? Ax by what is hypotenuse? A. Hypotenuse is A. What is our subject? Ax. We want Ax kada. So Ax is equal to simply A cos theta hypen. So what is the contribution of what is the contribution of vector A bar on x-axis? Enta contribute చేస్తోంది. This is the contribution from here to here. It is the contribution. The Ax value ఎంత వచ్చిందమ్మా మనకి? A cos theta వచ్చింది. So here A cos theta means it is a magnitude వస్తుంది మనకి. ఏ అనే magnitude cos theta తో ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇక్కడ 30 degrees తీసుకుంటే ఏ వాల్యూ వాడు ఇచ్చినప్పుడు మనకి దీన్ని సింప్లిఫై చేసినప్పుడు ఆన్సర్ ఇన్ టర్మ్స్ ఆఫ్ స్కేలార్స్ లో వస్తుంది, magnitude వస్తుంది. We should remember A cos theta is a scalar. Simply what we have to do? Ay we have to calculate. Ay. So for that sin theta తీసుకుందాం. sin theta కి ఆపోజిట్, థీటాకి ఆపోజిట్. ఇది ay అయినప్పుడు ఇది కూడా ay అవుతుంది కదా. ఇది ay అయినప్పుడు కింద హారిజాంటల్ లైన్ డ్రా చేసుకుంటే ఇది ay అయినప్పుడు ఇది కూడా ay అవుతుంది. సో థీటాకి ఆపోజిట్ సైడ్ ఈజ్ ay, అగైన్ హైపోటెన్యూస్ ఈజ్ a. సో ఫ్రమ్ దిస్ వాట్ వి హావ్ టు క్యాలిక్యులేట్? ay we have to calculate simply a sin theta. That means the contribution of a bar on y axis is how much amma? That is ay sin theta. ఇక్కడ కూడా ay sin theta అనేది స్కేలార్ magnitude అన్నమాట. Understand? So these are the components of x-axis and y on y-axis. Right now, component of a bar on x-axis, component of a bar on y-axis. A cos theta and a sin theta. Right? So this is about the resolution of vectors. Now let us consider a small example. For example, two axes. Let us consider x-axis and y-axis. Origin 0, 0. I consider one vector, that is p bar is 10 newtons. It makes some angle with 60 degrees along x-axis. Then calculate the component along x-axis and the component along y-axis. So the component along x-axis is nothing but a cos theta, just now we proved, which is nothing but p cos theta. That means px is equal to p cos theta. P I gave 10 newtons into cos value I gave 60 degrees. That is 10 into cos 60 is 1 by 2, which is equal to 5 newtons. So out of 10 newtons లో p bar అనే వెక్టర్ x డైరెక్షన్ ఎంత కంట్రిబ్యూట్ చేసిందంటే 5 newtons కంట్రిబ్యూట్ చేసింది. ఎలా y డైరెక్షన్ how much it contributes? Simply p sin theta which is nothing but a p of 10 newtons into sin 60 is root 3 by 2, simply 5 root 3 newtons. How much it contribute along y direction? 5 root 3 newtons ఇది contribute చేసింది. Right now, so what is the vector form of p here? P vector form రాయాలి అంటే px along I cap along x direction plus py along with j cap along y direction. So p bar is equal to px I cap plus py j cap. Then you know how to calculate p bar. Mod of p bar square root of x component whole square, simply px square plus py square. So this is about the resolution of two vectors. Right. So the same resolution 2D నేర్చుకున్నాం కదా. Now the same resolution for 3D. 3 dimension లో ఉన్నప్పుడు మనకి వాల్యూస్ ఎలా వస్తాయి? How to resolve the given vector in 3 dimension. 3 dimension లో ఎలా ఉంటుంది? So for that purpose, let us consider a Cartesian system. Cartesian system is x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. Along x-axis unit vector is I cap and it is j cap and here it is k cap. Orthogonal unit vectors. Right. Now I consider here one more vector. Vector name is again a bar. Magnitude of a bar is a. Magnitude unna a bar ane vector ni nenu తీసుకున్నప్పుడు it makes some angle alpha with x-axis, beta with y-axis and gamma with z-axis. Alpha, beta, gamma are angles made by the given vector a bar along x-axis, y-axis and then z-axis. So now with the help of these angles you can calculate cos alpha, cos తీసుకున్నాం. Cos operation for alpha. So for our convenience purpose, you can draw a perpendicular line here. ఇక్కడ మన perpendicular line draw చేసుకుంటే, so alpha ki adjacent side means adjacent side become ax and alpha ki this side become ay and here it is az. A along x-axis ax, along y-axis ay, along z-axis az గా split అయింది. Right. So for alpha, what is the adjacent side? Ax is the adjacent side. Then what is the hypotenuse value? Hypotenuse value is a. So from this ax I can calculate simply a cos theta. Ax is equal to a cos theta. Right. Now one more cos beta I can calculate. Now cos beta means this one. Again if you can draw the perpendicular line on y-axis, what will happen? Beta ki idi adjacent side avutundi, idi opposite side avutundi. So cos beta is equal to ay by a. Simply ay is equal to a cos beta. Sorry, here not alpha theta, here it is alpha తీసుకున్నా కదా, a cos alpha, a cos beta. Similarly you can write cos gamma means same vector a bar makes some angle with what? z-axis తో angle make చేస్తాం. ఇక్కడ ఎంత అవుతుందమ్మా? az by a which is equal, then that implies az is equal to a cos gamma. Here cos alpha, cos beta, cos gamma, alpha, beta, gamma are called as Cartesians. Means alpha, beta, gamma are called as angles made by a with x and y and z axis. Right. So from this you can calculate ax square plus ay square plus az square which is equal to, take a square as common. A square common తీస్తే cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma వస్తుంది మనకి. Squaring on both sides చేసి a square ని కామన్ తీస్తే a square of cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma వస్తుంది. So from this, therefore cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma ni మనం క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేస్తే which is equal to a x square plus a y square plus a z square whole by a square. A square ని మనం లెఫ్ట్ సైడ్ తీసుకెళ్ళాం. Just now in 2 dimension లో మనం చేసాం. For example, a is a vector which is nothing but ax I cap plus ay j cap అనే వెక్టర్ వచ్చినప్పుడు మనకి magnitude క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేసాం. magnitude is nothing but a bar, mod of a bar or nothing but a. సింపుల్ గా a అని రాసుకున్నా కూడా మనకి ఏమొచ్చింది? ax square plus ay square within root వచ్చింది మనకి. సేమ్ అంటే ఇక్కడ మనం ఏం రాసుకోవచ్చు? instead of this ax square plus ay square plus az square, right? Whole by a value is nothing but this along with ax square plus ay square 3d కాబట్టి ఎవరు యాడ్ అయ్యారు? az square యాడ్ అయింది along with root whole square. a కి స్క్వేర్ ఉందండి. Any cancellation here? Yes, of course. Square and root will get cancelled. Finally, all the terms in the numerator and the denominator will get cancelled, which is equal to 1. What you will get? Cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma is equal to 1 వచ్చింది. From this, if you can write this cos alpha as 1 minus sin square alpha, because sin square alpha plus cos square alpha is equal to 1. Theta lo నేర్చుకున్నాం. Theta place లో alpha ని replace చేసుకున్నాం. Plus 1 minus sin square beta plus 1 minus sin square gamma is equal to 1. So, if you can simplify this, sin square alpha plus sin square beta plus sin square gamma is equal to, మనకి ఎంత వస్తుందమ్మా ఆన్సరు 2 వస్తుంది. This is the standard formula and this is also a standard formula. గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాలి. cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma is equal to 1 and sin square alpha plus sin square beta plus sin square gamma is equal to 2. These are very, very important points. So this is about the resolution of vectors in 3 dimension and resolution of vectors in 2 dimension.